Welcome back. This is Kimberly Purpose and welcome to my channel. Today I wanted to do a video about the drug problem that's going on here in the United States. Um, this is about the opioids addiction. And I saw this interesting article that I came across from Huffington Post. The name of the article is When a Drug Epidemic Hit White America, Addiction Become a Disease. The scorn and dehumanizations of crack epidemic has been replaced by empathy and rehabilitation. This article was written by Jesse Mechanic. And I believe he's the founder editor of overgrown.com. I thought this article was very interesting. He did a correlation between the crack epidemic and the epidemic that's occurring today. For those of y'all who don't know, the crack epidemic took place in the 1980s, and it hit African Americans. No, I don't like using African Americans. I like calling us Aborigine Americans really hard during that time period, and very little was done during that time. A lot of blacks were thrown in jail and did not receive any type of treatment. But now, it's considered a health issue, and which makes it a lot easier for people who have problem with drug addiction be able to have access into getting treatment. And with me being a therapist myself, I have a master's in psychology, and I worked with this population or this group of people, people who suffer from addiction. It is definitely a health issue, but it's unfortunate that it took the suffering of whites to realize it when in the past it was hit in the black community and nothing was ever been done about it. Well, let's continue. Let's start on this article. It says, one would have to be a sadist of a particularly obstinate nature to argue against our national evolution in the way we approach addiction and drug usage in general. Though we are still not where we need to be, for the most part, we are more compassionate, more empathetic, more logical. We now largely view addiction as a disease rather than a conscious collapse of moral. It's good timing too. The opioid epidemic is the largest drug epidemic in recorded history, resulting in over 500,000 deaths since 2000. But the question is, why now? What tipped the scale and led formerly staunch supporters of war on drugs to rethink their approach? The answer is white people. White people got addicted. I am far from the first person to point out this obvious connection, but it is certainly bears repeating. So I found it interesting. The author, he's white, and he's actually pointing this out. That it's quite obvious that, now more is being done about addiction when it was a problem for other minorities such as Aborigines and Hispanics in the past. It was constantly being overlooked and everybody was being criminalized. People who had suffered drug addiction, who were crack addicts, were unfortunately thrown in prison and never did get the support that they need. And it broke up a lot of homes and families. And so let's continue on with this article. It says, for the most part, since certain cold-blooded men are intended to defy logic and data in order to ride the status quo into blaring son. The opioid epidemic is being treated far differently than recent drug epidemics. Chris Christie's best moment aside from making Rubio malfunction during 2015 to 16 presidential primary was when he spoke about the need for more compassion for addicts. At the end of his presidency, Barack Obama signed the 21st Century Cures Act, which is in addition pledging billions for medical research, allocated 1.5 billion for substance abuse treatment. Wow. It's amazing how they can do so much when it happens to Caucasians, but when it happened to Aborigines in the past, nothing was being done, and it's just a total hypocrisy. And I think it's great something is being done, but it's far too late. Um, I don't understand why, you could give harsh treatments to Aborigines and throw them in jail, give them harsh sentences and break up happy homes. But yet you delicately make sure whites get all the treatment that they need when, and when the same thing happened to the blacks, they were criminalized. It's a true double standard, and you make you wonder how come Caucasians are not being jailed. And if this epidemic is so big, and then when they put out Caucasians in jail, but it's not happening. So yeah, it's a big difference. And I think it's great that this guy's pointing it out, that how it's a big double standard, and how, it was totally a big double standard, in how it's being treated. But it says here, the opioid epidemic has and at least recently been met with empathy, creativity, and heart. The crack epidemic of the 1980s was met with scorn and punishment, rhetoric around crack painted addicts as wild animals, super predators who need to be brought to heel. It's easier for lawmakers to put it light to separate themselves from the crisis. And nearly all of them were white and well off. The crack epidemic eventually exclusively impacted people of color living in poor neighborhoods. It was a problem of another world. This makes it far easier to implement policies that actively dehumanize those afflicted. And that's exactly what happened, during that time period. People who were suffering from crack, were criminalized. And it's been proven that the government had purposely put the crack into the neighborhoods and ruined the black communities, because prior to the 70s and the 80s, black people had beautiful, wonderful homes. The mother and the father and the kids, everybody grew up together, and and had a family, and it was more close knit. But when the crack epidemic was put into the neighborhoods with guns, and everything, it messed up everything in the community, and it was purposely done to sabotage the Aborigines here in the United States. But I'm running out of time. Once again, I got long-winded, but I would love to hear what you all think about this article. Let me see how far. It's quite a bit more. I'm gonna try to do a part 2 to this, and please like this video and thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to donate and like this video, and I'll be doing a part 2. Until next time, peace and be blessed. Bye bye.